If not, it would have been on my phone, and we would have had a rough
Oh
time.
yeah. Better. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I got a 32-inch screen now, and it's just sit back on the couch. And
Yeah, this is chill.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I made a specific Zoom setup now because so much is going on that.
Yeah. Right. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is
that.
if we were grateful for online, now's the time.
Yeah.
I would be out of business if the internet went down. Because I don't do anything other than here.
Right on. Well, this is cool. Okay, we're recording, as I think you can see. This is surreal for me, man, to see you there in the place I've seen you in all the YouTube videos.
Yeah, right.
The voice I've heard in all the recordings.
Yeah.
This is cool. So I'm just soaking this in for a second.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I'm glad you're finding my work to be helpful.
Incredibly. And so I was just telling Mike, in preparation for this, I've been binge listening to stuff.
Oh, good.
On YouTube the last couple of days.
Excellent.
And I try not to do this because I don't want listeners to chase experiences, but I just got to report, I can't help but report.
That's fair.
That there's been a lot of experiences.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails like that from people saying, wow, I just watched such and such video and I woke up and I've been there was a guy on there recently. I've got to repost it. It was a comment on somebody else's comment, so I couldn't find it later, but I've got it now. And the guy who says, well, 43 years. And finally I come to rest here. Well, whatever he said, but he woke up with one of my videos. 43 years.
Yeah.
And so the thing that I want him to know, and the thing that I want everybody else to know before we talk directly about awakening, is that my friend with the 43 years who woke up, if he does not pursue that awakening, then the odds are he will remember a wonderful LSD trip with a video of Fred Davis's back in 2020, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then he'll probably try to go back to that same video expecting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I would do. Because I woke up reading a book, and I went through that book trying to find where the place was that I woke up before, and I was going to duplicate it and everything. And but I never got the pop again. Just got it the first time.
Yeah.
And which is probably worth mentioning. That so I was reading a book. Everybody want to know which one, and I was reading Pointers from Nisargadatta by Ramesh Balsekar. And it was absolutely, it's a fabulous book. And there's somewhere in there that he says, when everything else is gone, what's left? And for the first time in my life, I did not go, oh, that's a great pointer. I'll just put that one in my collection.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'd heard that before, something along those lines, but it didn't hit me like it did in those reading that book on that day. And boom, that was, the awakening occurred.
Yeah. So it reminds me, this is a theme that comes up on the podcast a lot of, I use the metaphor of when you hear a love song before you've fallen in love, right?
Yeah.
And you can appreciate it of, oh, that's a good song. But then when you fall in love for the first time, you go, oh shit, you hear it with both your eyes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I get what he's saying. This is meant for me, right? And this is the personal nature. Let me cut off my iPhone here. There we go. And I don't remember what we were talking about.
The personal nature of the relating to the song or relating
to
the word.
So there is and even though there's nothing personal anywhere at any time, there is a sense of something personal. and that's what we get from that, because what we're getting with it, that feels like a personal resonance is really just love resonating with itself,
Yeah.
whether it's just having fallen in love with another human being, or it's just having fallen in love with yourself now that you discover who you really are.
Yeah.
Because you got to love yourself, you just got to.
How can you not once you see it?
And of course, if you don't, then you won't love anything else, because there's not anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is another thing. I'm going to start off with all the appreciation.
Yeah.
When I listen to your stuff, I just laugh hysterically. You're one of my favorite comedians.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm the stand-up non-dualist.
Yeah. So I'll give you a funny example. Is I was listening just this morning. You had something on YouTube where I don't know if it was a book, but it was like a guided meditation that had some cool Indian sound and music in the background. And,
okay.
Yeah, and you're giving like pointers in sort of a way.
Oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
We're watching the mirror, right?
Yeah. And you're kind of whispering, and it's cool. I'm listening to it as I'm driving, and again, experiences are happening.
Right.
Certain state is arising,
Yeah.
and he said something along the lines of, if you want to, go for 10 years, believe that you're going to chase this for 10 years to end up right where you are anyway, go for it. And that just killed me. I just as soon as something about your voice,
yeah. Right.
with the music, and you're kind of saying it in a whispered tone, you go for it.
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard I almost had to pull over.
Well, go for it, because when you're pulled, you can't not, and nothing's ever wasted. When I woke up, I mean, it was like, oh my God, 24 years of beating my head against the wall for this, and because the character, there will be a bit of disappointment for the character.
Yeah.
Because even mine was Guns N' Roses. It was a boom type of awakening. Most are not. That's the reason the boom types are in the books. It's because they are unusual. And I have had people wake up with boom types, the roses, the angels and trumpets, but more commonly it is just, well, I have a lot of people that wake up laughing, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Lots of people wake up laughing. Many, I would say the heavy percentage of the people I wake up will do so laughing. There's nothing more troubling for me than to get with a client in an awakening session and they don't have a sense of humor.
Oh man, I can only imagine.
And these are people that have been trying to dance themselves into awakening for 20 years, and they ain't stopping now. And now this has not worked for them for 20 years.
Yeah, but they're sticking with it.
That, because it could happen in the next 30 minutes, right? But I try to discourage them from that and ask them to try my way a while, because my way really is free.
Yeah.
I'd say, and when I say it my way, let's be very, very clear. There's no Fred Davis here, and there's no Fred Davis that invented the living method of awakening. This is the lucky unit. There's no one home, but it's a lucky unit. And by the most mysterious thing ever, awakening arrived here. And from that, the living method of awakening also arose. And because living method of awakening is very much, which is the name of what I do, the teaching that I have, it is, it's a form of inquiry. So I actually teach others to wake up the way that I woke up, which was through inquiry. Mm-hmm. Many teachers don't. If you look at it, not to throw any sand on them. I love Eckhart and Byron Katie both, but Eckhart, everybody thinks he woke up just clear as a bell the next morning, but he didn't. He went and wandered in the park for years.
Yeah, which he kind of grazes over in the book.
That's right. Yes, right. That's it. And so the thing is I'm going to wake up and be just like Eckhart. Hell, the first time I cut a video on non-duality, I was so stunned and disappointed to notice that I sounded nothing like Eckhart. And I thought that was the way I was supposed to sound, right?
Yeah,
I didn't even have a British accent. And I can't remember what I was talking about now. Eckhart and Byron Katie woke up, right, in a halfway house from
Cockroach.
Both woke up from agony.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the same thing I woke up from.
Mm-hmm.
Was just the trauma of agony. But Katie woke up just boom. I mean, it was just basically it was just a spontaneous awakening. And then she invented the work to clear in the aftermath of awakening. And that's very, very helpful. But if you're going to clear, you need to wake up first.
Yeah, it's a great point, man.
Or one way to do it is to wake up first. You will almost never get it in a progressive sort of way, which is I've been meditating for 10 years and this ain't getting it, but I got 10 years invested. I may as well do it to continue going. And then you have somebody like that with 43 years, right? Been trying everything. I mean, and there's no practice that I find that where there's any direct relationship to awakening other than inquiry. That's the only practice I can find where there's a direct relationship, because I do inquire with people and they wake up. It's a direct relationship.
Yeah. Don't sit there in silence and tell me when you wake up.
That's right. Yeah, right. And so, whereas, and I wake up people sometimes who have 50 or 60 years that they spent, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, whatever it is, on a meditation cushion. Yeah. And I mean, I've worked with people who've been so earnest about that. Nisargadatta, my forefather, by my account, not his. And there it goes. Yeah. So I just say the audience should be very clear. I don't do this.
Yeah.
There's no one here doing anything. It's the job of Fredness's job is to get this to the computer, right? And once it's done that, Fredness can go off and go fishing for all I care.
Yeah, the thing I keep wanting to ask is, don't you feel thankful that Fred has nothing to do with this?
Oh God, yeah, because he wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah,
right. I mean, honestly, if I woke up in the morning and I thought, well, I got to wake somebody up at 1:00, I wouldn't get out of bed.
Yeah,
because I would know I have no idea whatsoever how to do that, and. So I get this thing to the computer, and then words come out until they don't. And sometimes they don't right in the middle of a thought. It's just I'm in the middle of a thought and boom, it goes blank. And Fred's got a lot to offer us, but I don't think it's useful.
That's so funny, man. That's right in the theme of, I said it the last podcast I did. This is just my little story, but my practice, quotation marks around that, is for the podcast is I tell Nick, go sit in the corner for a minute and dream talking, that's the name of the pod. The entity is going to take over, and we're going to allow this space for cool shit to come up that luckily Nick has nothing to do with.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I will watch I will watch myself in an awakening session. In other words, the transparent witness, or the sense of transparent witness, is watching this unit conduct what it looks like is this unit conduct an awakening session. And I am sometimes, it's so detailed, and so it's story after story after story, when question after question after question, that's wound into an overall narrative. And I'm in the South. I'm from the South, and we are known as great storytellers.
Mhm.
And I used to tell some great stories prior to these stories. So the awakening session is actually, it's just a great story that you are invited to participate in. And if you accept that invitation and do participate in it, then you'll wake up. I mean, that's just really that simple. But I can watch it, and I'm in wonder as I'm telling some story. And it's like, because I can remember now that it started with a germ of an idea. I mean, I'm talking about one particular, what I call module within the narrative of an awakening session. And I will remember where there was the birth of a tiny idea, and that then it began to work itself out, and it became a whole module, where, meaning that it became a whole theme unto itself. Because there are numerous modules for an awakening session. I know a count of them. And it will also vary on the session, because I don't do the same identical session with everybody, but it will bear a strong resemblance. They'll all bear a strong resemblance.
Yeah.
And the narrative of the module is of each module is such that the beginning, you begin a module, the first module is that help you begin the first module, and at the end of that module there should have been a seeing within, as we talked, within that. It doesn't have to be awakening, but there should have been a seeing of something. It's actually the beginning of awakening. And then the end of that module is the beginning of the next. And so then we go to another module, and then you come to see whatever the point of that module is very clearly. So it's a matter of waking you up, kind of like squares, like a checkerboard, right?
Yeah.
It's just I've had you come and fill in the squares. There's blank squares, and you just pencil one in when you get it, and we move on to the next one, and then you pencil that up when you get it, and it's a bunch of squares, and they are somehow have combined into, I mean, I don't know why it works. I don't do it, and I can't believe that it does work, right?
Yeah.
But after all these years, Mike would be able to call me out if it didn't. Because Mike and I have been friends since 2012 or 2013.
Wow.
I had my website, but I don't know if I had written the Book of Undoing. I'd probably written the Book of Undoing. Yeah.
No. Yeah, I had read the Beyond Recovery.
The Beyond Recovery book, right?
Before, right? So.
But no, actually, it was just months before, because the release of Beyond Recovery was botched, and by the publisher, and so it did not get off to a healthy start. There was so much but at any rate, it just didn't. And so it was not, and it brought me a little bit of quasi fame, but it really wasn't the big splash that I had wanted to do. and that I thought it could have done had it been played out right, because it's a good book to this day. And so there was a sense. So I decided that what I'm going to do is I don't care about the publishers. I don't care about the readers. I don't care about anybody who's following me. I'm going to take my website and my teaching, and I'm going to do it to please me, and everybody else be damned.
Yeah.
And I decided, so I was doing things where I would have interviews, or not interviews, but I would do articles on other teachers. Like I'd have the first chapter of their new book in there, and then I would have some commentary from me, and then lots of links and all this kind of stuff. And that's the way I'd gotten the website to grow. And I decided at that point I didn't care if it grew. It was all right with me if it shrank, just withered.
Yeah, because you knew where you were coming from.
I knew where I was coming from, and I knew that I had to do it on my own. And Ralph Waldo Emerson had convinced me with his essay, his essays, period. But if I was going to point to one, it would be Self-Reliance, which I had never read because I thought he was talking about a little self-reliance. And I thought it was pull yourself up by your bootstraps, son, and go out and make some money. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because business people will very often quote him, although they don't have a clue what he's saying.
Yeah, that's getting right back to the being in love and hearing the love song.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah. So, and they turn it toward business, which because of that, I didn't want to read him. But when I did, he really helped me so much at that time. This was in the late winter or early midwinter in 2013, like in January. And I quit teaching because I had been catching flack. People were telling me that I couldn't do what I was already doing, which was waking people up. And I had thought everybody was going to be overjoyed. And I frankly, there's no humility over here. I had frankly thought it was just going to change the world. Because what I could see is that we'd had 6,000 years of doing it not the best way.
Yeah. And you just found the best way.
And then the best way arrived, which just happened to be mine. Yeah. And but I really did think people would flock to it. And I remember on my Back Gap interview, when I talked to Rick, I told him, if people ever figure out what I'm really doing, I'll be booked from now to death. And I must tell you, I've been busy ever since.
I guess I figured that.
And there was a Back Gap bump, which meant I just got my email filled up with PayPals of people wanting sessions. And but even after working through all those, it just never stopped. But it's still amazing that in one way it's amazing that as many people apply as who do, but in a larger way it's like, oh my God, I mean, I can't believe what a small fraction of non-dual folks, non-dual seekers will actually turn to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because they refuse, one thing is they refuse to notice that what they've been doing doesn't work.
That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part.
Except that you put your faith in a failed system.
That's it. You put your faith in and it's a system that I'm not saying nobody woke up from that system, but I'm saying most people who woke up from that system woke up in spite of that system and not because of it.
Yeah.
Which is the reason that percentages of waking up to seekers is so minimal, right? I mean, this many people come and this many people wake up. Yeah. And then with the living method, those odds are exactly reversed, which is that almost everybody wakes up. Few people don't, but even that has just continues to shrink and shrink and shrink, where But I don't want to say that I couldn't fail in an awakening. I wouldn't be failing. Every awakening session is successful. I just couldn't always get the client to agree with me on that. Because sometimes somebody's not supposed to wake up and they don't.
Yeah.
So I've done my job just right. God forbid I wake up anybody who wasn't supposed to wake up.
So what I'm hearing again and again, I think we have another mutual friend, Paul Hederman. That's how Mike and I met. Yeah. And he always says things of like, once the invitation is sent out there, it's out of his jurisdiction.
That's it.
Yeah. That's what I hear from you. Yeah. You're presenting something that's as good as, as clear as it possibly can be, and then it's out of your jurisdiction.
That's it.
And at a certain point, you can't sit up at night and be tortured about that 99 guy. I didn't get him.
Right. And when I first started this, so you're exactly right, and it's just my job to present this, and it's your job to wake up or not. But when I first started presenting this, I mean, right from go, the first time I ever tried this, something that was very much akin to this system, first time I ever tried, I woke that person up, and it blew me away. Because I'd woken up a few people locally, but here I had woken up somebody on the phone by doing something with them, not telling them the truth. And it's, well, you're really just the cosmic light, and it's just this, that, and the other, right? And wow, I'm awake now. I mean, it's I'd never heard that before. And, that I actually was doing something with them. I mean, I know there's no doer, but it certainly feels like there's one, and it feels like there's a doing. Awakening session feels like a doing, and it's not, but it's the way it feels. And so when I first started out, I was going 50%, 50-50. I was waking up half the people I was talking to, which is fantastic. I had never dreamed anything was possible like that.
Yeah.
I remember, it's amusing now, but at the very beginning of my teaching, I had always been a salesman and a very goal-oriented guy. And I thought, and I knew I had no goals, but I thought, well, you should set up something as some kind of vague goal, not to head in that direction necessarily, but just so you'll know that job well done if you were to hit that, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if I could I've got 20 years left or something like that, or 25 years left, I don't know, we'll find out. And I thought, if I could wake up 6 people, that would be strong.
Yeah.
That would be just miraculous, and it'd be wonderful, and I would be able to consider my teaching a successful teaching. So that happened really, really fast. I don't know if that had happened before I ever had that first one over the phone or not. I don't know if I'd woken up 6, but I'd woken up several people, 4 that I can think of like that. So.
Yeah, I always love that. That reminds me of like Fred could make a goal like that, but Fred couldn't achieve a goal like that.
Oh no.
And in my own little experience, and I've gone through it on other episodes, like my idea was, if you went back to me 5 years ago, if I could have one friend that I could talk to and like connect with, I'm happy. I could die happy, right? And I found one. And today they don't stop coming. They're coming out of the woodworks, and I kind of push them away with the stick, and it's just, I've had so many examples of that in this podcast too. My idea was, well, if I can put out 10 episodes, then maybe that'll be a goal. And then
as if it's your decision.
Exactly. Yeah. Nick makes the goals, but then something else takes over. Yeah.
That's it. So
Yeah.
you'll make 5, or you might make 50, or you just might just keep on and on. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's no way to there's no way to tell. It's completely out of control over here. I mean, when I told people early on, when I was, because I do make a good income. I'm not rich by any means, but I make a good income. We live comfortably. And I always saw that as part of it, because I didn't want to travel like everybody else was, because the model was travel to little groups, give talks, get followers, get enough followers, write a book or whatever it is. Maybe you've already written a book, but one way or the other, you get connected to lots of people.
I'm exhausted just hearing it. That
And
sounds like a lot of work.
Right. It is a lot of work, and it actually is work. I mean, what I mean is that there is a lot of apparent effort involved. And so you get enough people, then you can hold a retreat, and then you can make some money or something like that.
Yeah.
And if you ever get to where you get enough, but most people don't go beyond the little group, right? Which is fine. It's perfectly valid teaching. We need them. We really do. And but what was I speaking of?
We're talking about the financial security and having that is nice, and a different model.
Oh, so I know where it comes from. Is that I was accused of being a big self-promoter, which is supposedly not done in non-duality, although every teacher is self-promoting, right? You write a book, you're self-promoting. You do a video, you're self-promoting. If you pass out a pamphlet, you're self-promoting. It makes no difference.
It's this funny thing of where they're pretending they're not.
That's right. Everybody was pretending they're not. I pretending. I knew I was self-promoting.
Which I'm sure personally attracts me. I have such a bullshit detector that is, especially in the world of spirituality, as soon as I smell any kind of bullshit, it's really hard to stick around.
Yeah. A lot of people like the frankness of it.
Yeah.
Right? Just, look, this is an exchange. Here's what we're doing. Right. And so that, when I got accused of the self-promotion, which is accurate, but when I got, criticized for it and caught a lot of flack online and stuff, I just decided to quit teaching. And because I never expected any of this. I thought everybody was going to say, hey, that's great, Fred. Yeah. I didn't know that everybody that many people were going to be threatened by what I was doing, because I wasn't doing what they were doing, and I was getting better results than they were. So their defense on that was that I wasn't doing what I was doing. And I couldn't do what I was doing. And I knew I was a fraud. I'd been a fraud for, all my life. I was an alcoholic trying to live a life of a non-alcoholic. So that was fraudulent. And when it came to the teaching, then I felt, okay, so, well, you are a fraud. And I still say I'm a fraud, because as I say, I don't do this. So I used to be a fraud really for not much money, and now I'm a fraud for more. But, right? So I used to be a liar, but I didn't get paid for it. Now I get paid for it.
Yeah, and now you're a little bit more honest about the lie.
Yeah, right. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so this brings me right back. I can't help it. The first time I heard your voice, I could look up the date. It was 2017, and it was the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And I know that because it was the first day I started a new position at work. I happened to be up late the night before. The theme of awakening kept popping up for me, and I'm looking through podcasts, and I see awakening clarity, what awakening method, whatever the name of your podcast is, through iTunes.
Yeah.
And I downloaded. I downloaded the most recent one.
Awakening Clarity Now.
Awakening Clarity Now, yeah. And so I get in my car in the morning, and I start it up, and then the audio's not the best. This isn't like a super studio,
Yeah.
I'm used to listening to Alan Watts and Muji or whatever up to that point.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, this is like a dude from the South with, okay, this is interesting. And the thing that I remember very clearly was it was one where you're giving a talk on what I'm telling you is not the truth. It can't be because it's words.
Right. Yeah.
And that hit me. And I've said that before to Mike. I might have even said on one of our podcasts together of I was waiting my whole life. I didn't know it, but I was waiting my whole life to hear someone admit that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody
and I said, holy shit, you got my attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Because
then,
the truth can't be spoken.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And I had heard of Ramana Maharshi before that, but I hadn't come across that line of his, which I love, which is the truth is in the silence. As soon as you go to speak about it, you're obscuring the truth, And so in a way you introduced me to
The moment the mouth opens, it's over.
Yeah.
But we got to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to use
Because
something.
I can't get people to go online with me and just sit for 90 minutes. And I don't know that anything would happen anyway.
Okay, I think you'll love this. I think you'll love this. So another one of our buddies, Keith, he's a regular in our Sangha that goes to Paul's talks, Paul Hederman. And so him and I have, through the quarantine, we've been phone conversation buddies, and we talk to each other, and things tend to lean towards non-duality stuff. And so I'm doing my citations. This came from Keith, seemingly, but I really loved it, so I want to share it with you. So we were talking about Ramana, and in the same theme as what made me laugh so hard about the, you can meditate for 10 years, go for it, right?
Right.
Is Ramana used to say similar things as people would travel across, the world and come see him in India and say, they'd come and see him and they, well, what's the truth? And Ramana would say, well, something along the lines of self-inquiry. Who wants to know the truth?
Yeah.
Right. And people would say things like, well, yeah, okay, I get that, but I got this real bhakti thing, or, I grew up Hindu. And Ramana, again, in the theme of teaching and meeting them where they're at, would say, well, then go do your bhakti thing, but you're going to come right back here to asking who needs to do the bhakti.
They won't if bhakti is there. There's nothing wrong with bhakti as a path. It can be freeing. And what he was seeing was that this is a person who lines up with bhakti.
Yeah.
So he needs to go and do that. And there is a lot of bhakti around Ramana, but he never invited that.
Yeah. That wasn't his thing. Yeah.
No. He was really. He was a poor self-promoter.
Yeah, he was telling people to get away. Leave me alone.
So once I figured out that when I decided, well, I am a self-promoter, but that's got a capital S.
Yes.
I am promoting the
self. Yeah.
Right?
Capital
because.
S.
And now, I don't really care. I mean, it's just it is the way it is, and everybody gets to think the way they do. It used to bother me, but it doesn't bother me anymore. And I don't get much of it, but it's not like there's not an internet full of people who don't like me. It's that way. If you stand up and say,
if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, right? In the internet. Yeah.
What Ralph Waldo Emerson said was, welcome the slings and arrows.
Yeah.
Because it's an indication that you're doing something differently. You're doing something different. Yeah. And there will be a lot of resistance to that. And I wasn't trying to do anything different. I wanted just to be a non-dual teacher with a little group, or, and maybe travel or not or whatever. I had no idea I was going to do what I'm doing. But this is the way it happened. And but I used to tell people that would fuss about self-promoting. So what are you telling me? I've discovered a great teaching that frees people nearly instantly. and I'm just supposed to sit with that in my living room,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm loving this. I'm loving this. I ain't gonna share it. I know I'm not gonna tell anybody about it.
Yep.
I mean, that is just insanity. I had a great teaching. Of course, I want to tell you about it. I owe it to you to tell you about it.
Yeah.
It's that true. That may not be your teaching, but it's my job to present the opportunity. So that's what I did, and that's what I still do. A lot of people have taken advantage of that.
Yeah. So what else is blowing my mind right now? I have no better word for it, but this podcast continually produces magic for me in a certain way.
Yep.
That you answered all the questions I didn't ask you, but I'd been asking you, on the days
Right.
coming up to now, which is so cool. Because again, Nick had the idea of how the hell do I ask this to get this answer?
Yeah. Right.
And I just left it alone and you answered it. So I'll give you just to capture a little sense of that. I've always kind of had the heart of a teacher. I used to teach martial arts. I was going to go to school to teach kids, and then family, kids, and life happened. I had to get another job. But even in my job now, I am sort of the unofficial teacher of everyone that's sort of new. I'm the mentor that takes them along and, gets them from zero to 60 or whatever, and so I always can't help but appreciate seeing people's techniques of teaching, and that's always a kind of layer that's over. I get so much out of, in the example of, your YouTube videos, I get so much out of the message that you're sharing. And then there's a layer of appreciation of the skillfulness of the teaching that's going on. And you've continually, again, I didn't ask you any of that, but you dove right into all the different techniques and the things that are going on during an awakening session when you're talking about the modules and talking, and which again, I gotta thank you for answering the question. I didn't speak. Getting back to the Ramana not having to say anything.
Right. Exactly.
So, which reminds me too, because I got to do Keith justice. I didn't finish his whole story here. So
Sorry.
okay, no, it's fine. So the first guy, the Bhakti, go ahead, go 10 years, come back, and you'll end up still asking yourself who was the one that needed to do the Bhakti. Okay, we're going to categorize, in a non-dual way. We're going to categorize them into three, sections. So that's one. Two, somebody comes up, they say, I want to end my suffering. And he goes, who's the one that wants to end the suffering? And then that does it for him, we'll say, right? So it was pretty efficient in time. One took 10 years, one took, a couple seconds.
Yeah,
right. And then, so my buddy Keith goes, now the third is the people that walk up, see his face, burst into tears, or start laughing. And then you didn't have to say a thing, right? So the self-inquiry in that frame is the middle way.
Yeah.
The asking who.
Yeah. Well, Ramana always said that silence is the best teacher. And I agree with him. It is the best teacher, but I noticed it's not the most efficient. Because I got to go through a lot of people before I get one that's just, oh my God, look at him. Wow. And it's not that impressive a unit. And Ramana, you can kind of see, I got a big photo of him right there. I mean, he's a saint, right?
I got one in my truck. I look at him every day. He's so nice.
So he's really a sage, not a saint, but he's close to saintly. What I've found out is that most sages are not saints, and very few saints are sages.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's not mutually exclusive, but it's pretty close. You can set your.
Do you have any theories on that?
Who would be a saint then, by example?
What now?
So who would be a saint then, as opposed to a sage?
Well, Mother Teresa. She's a saint now.
Oh, you mean technically, like by the Catholic Church?
Yes. Right.
Certified.
Technically, she is a certified saint. So, and she did, she got one glimpse in her whole life. But the amazing thing is, that's all she needed was one glimpse. She saw Christ in her. That it makes sense that it would manifest itself in an acceptable manner, for her, which would be Christ, because she was a devout Christian, and then she went about serving Christ, helping others. So she was a practitioner of karma yoga, where you are doing it you are coming to enlightenment by your actions. And what I do is jnana yoga, and and then there's bhakti yoga, which is through devotion. But then the jnana is the yoga of wisdom. So she was a saint, but I've read just enough to know that she was a saint, but I wouldn't consider her a sage. I just wouldn't. Because, I mean, she did not have, she knew that she was serving Jesus, but she did not understand that she was Jesus.
There's a duality there.
I mean, that's kind of the way I would, I could be wrong, but that's the way I've read it. And, but you can take somebody like Ramesh Balsekar, who was the godfather of non-duality, of Advaita Vedanta for years. And when he got older, I think, in my own opinion, he just went a little senile. And so he got a little, girls would tell other girls to stay out of the kitchen because he got gropey. And that really disappointed me when I heard it, but it doesn't now, because he was a sage, but he was not a saint. He was a rascal, just like me. Yeah. He was a rascal sage. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to be gropey with my students. Just that happens to be what played out through, and I genuinely believe it was senility. I don't think, because there's no history of that over the years. There's just history of that in the very late years, and when there can be a lot of confusion. And he was a saint. I mean, a sage, but certainly no saint. And here, there's no saint here. I have no call whatsoever to save the world. I teach because I can't not. Because when I quit teaching, it wouldn't let me stay quit. And so I tried to quit twice, and it wouldn't let me quit either time. And so now I don't quit anymore, try to quit it anymore, but I love it now, right? Because it ceased once I got the Fred part out of it. Yeah. In other words, that, whoo, aren't you something, right? Yes, I have seen that I am nothing, and I can tell you that really makes me something. Fred, you're just not getting it, pal. And so I've never wavered. I mean, of course I promote this teaching. That's what I'm doing right now with you, is I'm promoting this teaching. I'm having a good time talking to you, but I know that there's a side benefit that, there may be some people who have not heard of me that will now investigate me. And there may even be somebody who investigates me and likes what he finds, if he doesn't probe too deeply. But my path was the path of the rascal. Yeah. And if you look in Native American, they have I think it's, what is it? The coyote, I think, that is right. The trickster.
The trickster, yep.
Yeah, right. And
somebody that I always think of it as someone that just shakes it up a little bit.
That's it.
That's what you need. And I love too your metaphor of the backdoor way.
Yes.
A lot of teachers out there are making you stare at the front door.
Right.
And like you said, it might happen by accident, but the back door is a whole lot more reliable, it seems like.
I mean, if there's a Bill trying to teach poor old Bob to wake up, because Bob just doesn't get it, then guess what? Bill don't got it anymore either. So if he, assuming he ever had it, but it's, the reason that
I just think I think a revolving door would be a good,
There you go.
be a good
Bill and Bob.
metaphor. Because while it's
Bill's
trying to get used
pushing
to
and Bob's-
it's got to be here, and then it's the back door. Okay, so I'm going to stand by the back door. You just got to keep them going.
The back door became the front door.
that's it.
Mike's great for those, by the way. Hey, Fred,
Oh, I
he's
know.
the all-time best of creating a little image.
I know.
I love it. I got to give props to Mike. One of my favorites. The first day I met him, he talked about wanting to experience your own absence, right? Wanting to be there at your own absence
That's
is
correct.
like trying to open the fridge door and see it before the light turns on.
Yes, right, exactly.
Is the light really on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I open it, it's on.
Yeah,
It
the
must
light's
be
on.
on when it's closed too.
Yeah.
And it's well, that's exactly right. That's perfect, Mike. That's a great metaphor.
He's just a treasure chest of them every time.
Well, that's kind of funny because I experienced it as coming through you that's there's lots of examples that I've heard a lot of your stuff that when I hear you talking right now, like about you only included briefly a capital S self promotion, but of course from my experience that's what's primary.
Yes.
So you're trying and you're
Yeah.
putting this disclaimer on there because of your character history that other people might relate to, but that was never of concern to me. It's it's more the example of there's nothing awakeness doesn't use in relative proportion. So the little s can be used in the big S promotion. That's the whole that's the whole thing.
Actually, that's the only thing that can be going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that you're relating on on a level that you can talk to the rascals,
Yeah.
but it's not really about that. So
Because there's a lot of rascals out there.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot of them that love hearing that I was one.
Yeah.
And I'm still, I'm not to be relied on even today,
Yeah, me either.
right?
Yes.
It does what it does. The unit does what it does. There's nothing I can do about it. And I don't even know who said that.
Yes. Okay.
But that's the
Fred,
feel of it.
I want to be respectful of your time. I know
Okay,
that
great.
you have an hour. We can go forever, but I know you've probably been
Thank you
working all
very
day. You probably
Yeah,
want to put
I
your
have.
feet up and have
Yes,
some dinner.
Betsy's was gonna cook dinner as soon as I get out of this, and I'm very much looking forward to that dinner.
Nice. What's
But I have enjoyed this a great deal, Nick, Mike, both of you, and I have enjoyed this a great deal. This is probably the most fun interview I've ever done, and I've done
Oh, well, thank you.
quite a few. So
That's a great.
thank you very much. I respect what you're doing. I'm appreciative. Mike, I love you. I love you too, Nick. But Mike's an old love.
we're old love. That's like, isn't that great?
So that means I'm new love?
You're new love. Yeah, that's great too. Sometimes it's better.
Yeah, right.
Love to Betsy and the dogs.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I
I'll
hope
see
we
y'all
can talk
later.
again soon, Fred.
Yeah, come to Sock Song sometime.
I would love to. I was just telling Mike, I was on your website and I was going, why the hell haven't I ever done a sock song? And the times just don't work that well for me. Because Sundays is a family day that's like always set as a family day. And then I normally work Wednesdays. But I'm going to find a day sometime to come in because I would love to join.
It won't hurt you.
I know, yeah.
It's great.
Might hurt
Great. Yeah. we can only hope so.
You can take a
He's
Yeah.
over in the corner still. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Shh.
Stay over there. Thank you so much, Fred. This was amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right on.
See you
Bye,
later.
Fred.
Right on, man. That was fun. Like hanging out.